OK， 我们是今天早上是 Saturday morning， 然后来到 Hearst Castle。我们现在在等坐那个 upstairs 的 bus 是 10:20 的，我们就会坐这个 bus， 然后呢上去看 Hearst Castle。这个 bus 已经比以前先进了。我10年前来的时候坐的是那个很 shaky 的 bus。 要命上去，因为它有一段路是山路，然后很多小石头，所以很滑，然后会抖得很厉害。Evelyn， 高不高兴 ？Happy？ 然后今天我跟 Evan 都是穿这个颜色的衣服，母子装。然后这先生也拿了相机。哎，不要弄，不要弄，不要弄，不要弄。
So that's one Bible scene. We don't talk about Hearst and religion. We see so much religious art here, but guess what? There's not even a chapel on this hilltop. Hearst is not a guy who goes to church. He told Newsweek magazine in 1947, I'm a Christian, no particular denomination. He was married and buried in the Episcopal Church. The reason you see so much religious art here, here's St. Barbara. He likes old art, Gothic and Renaissance art, and if you're looking at a 500-year-old piece of art, you know, chances are it's the church. That's where the money was back then. And that's why the best artists are doing that stuff, and Hearst is collecting it. Over here, more Gregorian chant. There's kind of a religious scene to it. That's a portrait of our boy Willie at the far end of the room. You think the guy had an ego? That was not, yeah, he does have an ego. That was not here when he was alive, though. The family brought that in here after he died in 1951. We show it as a home museum, and we started giving tours up here in 19.
有录像吗？
Everything into the teak that wraps around the house. Look up, get your cameras out. There we go, thanks for closing that. This is as close as you're ever going to get to this teak wood. It wraps all the way around the house here. There's a gable on the front, a gable on the back, and then double friezes on both sides of the house. You guys can check it out when you're wandering around the hilltop. Hearst saw this design in a house in Spain, but he couldn't buy it. So what does he do? He has a Swiss woodworker, a man by the name of Jules Supo, spend 6.5 years of his life hand carving all this wood up in San Francisco. The wood comes from Thailand. They got to get the wood out of the jungles during monsoon season. They float it across the Pacific. They work on it, and there's a shop out on Polk Street where Jules Supo's working, and they bring this stuff down here piece by piece by piece. What that tells me is the steps, the effort that Hearst is willing to go through if he likes a particular design, if he wants to incorporate that, what he's willing to do, what he's willing to spend.
小心点，小心点。
There, you know, they could have been coat of arms for other families. There is no Hearst coat of arms. Yeah.
After their separation, what about Mrs. Hearst back in New York?
Well, she's primarily living in New York. All her expenses are paid for. She comes out here. Again, we don't think Marion and Mrs. Hearst ever met. They certainly knew about each other. I'm
小心点 ，Evan， 你看的是。
这里面就比较少。
小心啊！
他们条件比较小。
这还有白。
有。
table. 哎，there's a little room.
这什么东西啊？
哎，这可以上去的。
不能啦。
没有，我是说这里可以。
可以上去。
Does anybody have another tour coming up after this one?
Yeah.
You guys do? Okay, we'll get you pointed in that right direction. What time is your tour going to be?
12. 11:20. 11:20.
20. Okay, we'll get. Okay, we'll get you out of the house and point you in the right direction. Real quickly, back in the early 1930s, Hearst is telling down they more like to.
小心小心，follow follow。
Watch your step in there.
Do you know what the next tour that you have is?
It's a yeah.
Grand room?
Yeah, grand room.
Okay. Okay, that'll work out fine, because you can be right at the main plaza. You've already heard the rules and stuff. Basically, you're going to walk up the same location we came up to.
Right.
And that is what? That was 11:20?
11:20.
Which means really 11:35, I think.
Yeah, I think. 看一下你的脸。
Absolutely. It's a customary scene down the road down by Bethel Beach. And what do I say? Give it away as gifts. Boxes of pardon me? 16th, 17th century. Can you check that you have the flash off on your camera, please? Okay, well, here we all are in the assembly room. A comfortable room to entertain guests. Mr. Hearst purchased nice, fluffy chairs from department stores filled with down, comfortable chairs to sit in, converse, have snacks, have drinks, and relax before he showed up for the evening meal. He liked to entertain here. He provided his guests with a game table, usually a nightly poker game going on over here. On the other side of the room, you usually found card tables set up with jigsaw puzzles and board games. So guests would come in here and relax and enjoy themselves. They might even not even notice the things in the room because they'd be busy talking to each other. Now, of course, Mr. Hearst went to
No, you cannot say it. Yeah, you can say that here maybe.
Well, let me tell you a little something about being a guest here at the ranch. Mr. Hearst liked to have company when he was here, and he would often invite people to come and visit him. But the invitation that you received would not be a formal engraving. ceilings from the Renaissance period. This is a Spanish ceiling from that same time period, and it is made differently in that because because Spanish craftsmen only had soft wood to work with, they tended to not carve the ceilings and paint them to decorate them. They were usually painted with bright colors. They used gold, gold leaf on them to make them sparkle. The patterns would be intricate, and they often were more bright and colorful than the Persian rugs that would have been on the floor in the house. Now, Mr. Hearst didn't care about the fact that they were painted ceilings. He just liked the fact that they were old. So they would be brought here, adapted to the room. Spring break, they're not usually here.
Okay.
And they'll stop in the summer.
Is it a bathroom in the middle between these two rooms? There, the window that opened up?
That would be the men's room, the washroom.
And what happened for the front door? Did a child did not care?
Oh, in there? It's an old Greek statue. It's just a fragment of an ancient Greek statue. Yeah, they lost their heads. Their arms, their legs, whatever, so that one's his torso. Come on in, folks. And of course, you can come over this way a little bit on the gray carpet. As long as you're on the gray carpet, should be room. When you came into this room, you actually left the original main house. This is the north wing. This was began construction in 1929 as a way to expand the house to create more spaces for guests. And because Mr. Hearst was flipping around his ideas, he was thinking that it might be nice to have a music room with musical instruments, pianos, and whatnot, that guests who came here could, be entertained by other guests. But he had those 5 sons, and they some of them came out here to the West Coast to go to school. They would come. Feels good, huh?
Yeah.